Hey everyone, so today I am going to be reviewing Dr. Amir Karam's video on how to treat skin texture and acne scars would actually work. I really respect the video that he made. I think of all the videos on how to get rid of acne scars, this has been one of the best I have watched. And as somebody who has had acne scars, still has acne scars, and has a multi-million-dollar business selling a treatment for people with acne scars, I wanted to give my take on this video from more of like an at-home microneedling treatment version. You guys know I have made at-home microneedling kits since 2012, but I do know that at-home microneedling is not the only way to treat acne scars. There's a ton of different ways to treat it, so let's talk about it, okay?
You're gonna wanna hear this. This is a topic that many of you have asked for, so I thought I'd take a moment and put together a comprehensive approach to how to treat different types of acne scars. Hi, I'm Dr. Amir Karam, board-certified facial plastic surgeon and founder and creator of Karam MD Skin. I specialize in facial rejuvenation, which basically means I help people look as young as they feel. And when it comes to acne...
So apparently Dr. Karam is like really known for, I think it's a vertical facelift. I think I'm too young to even think about it, but I wonder what the age for starting to even think about a facelift is. For as long as I've run my business and being in this aesthetics industry, I will say a huge part of me has been learning to accept my imperfections and my scarring and even the aging process, right? And I think being in this industry, I feel very pressured to do all of these things. And my whole philosophy, I guess, in life now is nothing is perfect, but it's worth it after fighting through my tears. It just basically, you know, life is not perfect and the way you look is never going to be perfect. And I'm gonna continue to have texture and age and all this stuff. So, but why I started my brand Banish was because I wanted to treat something at home, and I wanted to help my confidence. And I think for me, it is so much more than the way people look. It is all about how they feel, and that's why like I'm so passionate about like the Banish events and making you guys feel good about yourself. But just to know that there's so much you can do to make yourself look a certain way and look more perfect, and it is endless. And I hope people understand it, because even if you do XYZ, whatever, you know, there's still more you could do. And I think knowing when enough is enough and knowing how to be happy with how you look is so important, because I feel it. I feel the pressure needing to look perfect all the time, right?
These scars, the most important thing to do is understand what is causing the acne scars and what type of acne scar that you have, so that you can efficiently and effectively treat those scars. Without proper diagnosis, it's nearly impossible to get the treatment right. And the first step is diagnostic, and we are going to learn about different types of acne scars so that you can pair the right treatment with it. So let's differentiate acne scarring from other types of scarring. So when you cut your skin, the skin basically has to heal together and mend the fence, if you will. But what happens during acne is that the acne inflammation causes a degradation of the collagen. It causes the collagen to break down because of the inflammatory process that is happening during the acne event. So you end up with a loss of collagen, causing the scar to depress in the skin, as opposed to many scars that you've seen, you know, when you get a cut, they actually raise. This is a depressed scar. And because of that depression in the middle of the skin, it changes the texture of the skin. And when light hits it, all of a sudden it becomes magnified and amplified.
So this is why, if you ask anyone, acne scars are some of the hardest skin conditions to treat, especially the type I have, which is ice pick acne scars, because the acne is coming from, if you saw, like the deepest layer of skin and creating inflammation and interfering with, like, you know, the regular collagen matrices of the skin layers. Whereas a lot of other scars that people have, it is like a cut at the top of the skin. So the cut isn't as deep, whereas with me, in my case, cystic acne, it's from the bottom up. So that's why acne scars are very difficult to treat.
Because there's a roughness to the surface of the skin. And this is ultimately what bothers people the most about acne scars.
Now, I totally relate with the light, like, you know, like depending on which angle I'm at, depending on what side, depending on the lighting, like if you have acne scars, you know lighting is your best and your worst enemy. Seriously, like I remember when I was single and dating and stuff, I was always like worried about the lighting of a restaurant, and I was worried about, oh, if my date saw me like at a nicely dimmed restaurant, but then we go outside and it's like bright sun, like what is it gonna think about my skin, all that. So yeah, the lighting, I think, is only something people with acne scars can understand.
Now, even within the category of an atrophic scar, which is a depressed loss of collagen type of scar, there's 3 major categories of atrophic scars. First up is the ice pick scar. Now, just like the name insinuates, it is like a narrow, deep crater in the skin. This can happen in clusters, that can happen individually. So these very narrow pitted scars can be very difficult to treat. And it really has its own complete category of treatment, which I'm going to discuss in a moment. But before we do, let's talk about the next group, which is the Boxcar scar. So what this is a scar that has a broader nature to it. It's not just a narrow column, it's a broader nature, but it has sharp borders around it. So it's like a crater with a sharp edge. The sharpness of the edge differentiates it from the third category of acne scarring, which is the rolling scar. This is maybe one of the most common types that we see, and this is where you have an ambiguous edge or border, and there's just an undulation of the surface of the skin from normal height to depression to normal height to depression, each depression signifying a historical acne event that led to this depression. And now that we've discussed the 3 different types of scars, there is an imposter.
So I think I have more rolling scars like here, if you guys can see, but ice pick definitely on the temples.
Imposter scar, and that basically means it's something that people often will misinterpret as a scar, and that is hyperpigmentation. Now remember, hyperpigmentation in the skin is a result from inflammation. So post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, or PIH, leads to discoloration of the skin where there was inflammation. So the longer the inflammatory process exists, the longer or more likely you are to have post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. The good news about this is that it is not actually a scar, so there should not be any change in the texture of the skin. There should not be any rolling or undulations or depressions, but it can be very bothersome to see discoloration in.
Yeah, so PIH, it's like PI but PI, like performance improvement plan. No, PIH is actually easier to treat than a lot of other scarring, and for the at-home microneedling Banish kit, you will see the best results if you have PI or like hyperpigmentation or the discoloration, because the L-ascorbic acid with the collagen micro stamper works to really brighten and lighten the skin tone. And also if you use our alpha vitamin C cream, it has an ingredient called alpha arbutin, which is like a skin lightening agent. Those work really well, but yes, the discoloration from the skin is the easiest to treat because it's not an actual like scar.
And in the wake of the red inflamed acne scar. Now, there's good news about this. The good news is that all post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation will eventually resolve. Typically 3 to 6 months on their own, which is good news that it will resolve, but it's obviously not a great thing to have to live with this pigmentation for 3 to 6 months. But you can speed it along with lightening agents and retinols and even hydroquinone if you want to be prescribed, or the trifecta has a number of different categories of lighteners in there that can decrease pigmentation, but you can speed up the resolution of pigmentation.
Yes, alpha arbutin is really good for if you want like less harsh, carcinogenic, whatever version of hydroquinone.
Pigmentation with some of these agents. But otherwise, you just maintain sun protection and give it time. And so here's why all of this matters. Each type of scar, generally speaking, will require a slightly different type of treatment modality. So getting it right is really important. And this is why going to an expert who specializes in this type of treatment is really going to be important for you and save you a lot of time and money. But treatment of ice pick scars with the same treatment that you use for a boxcar or a rolling scar may lead you down a path that you'll be very dissatisfied. So get the diagnosis right by going to somebody who really knows what they're talking about and has experience in this particular matter. At the end of what I'm going to give you as kind of a good guideline, I'm also going to give you a consensus opinion that I went out and reached out to some laser specialists and try to get an understanding of like, what do you do in these situations for your patients? So make sure you watch this video all the way through. And if you like this type of content and want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So step one above all is to find an expert who specializes in acne scarring. Now, oftentimes this can be a dermatologist, but there are plastic surgeons and facial plastic surgeons who specialize in lasers that have a lot of experience with this as well. But generally speaking, a qualified, experienced dermatologist is going to be your best bet in terms of addressing and managing not just the acne, but also the acne scars. I would say among all of the different aspects that I see with patients, getting this part right is probably one of the most important and challenging because so many people are left with misguided and misinformed approaches that leave them frustrated as they were before they started. So do your research.
So I definitely agree with this. I've gotten lasers for my scars and I felt like it made it worse. Also fillers for acne scars, which definitely made it worse. It was kind of traumatic spending so much money not seeing the results and seeing my skin get worse. Also, I have had further scarring by getting professional microneedling done. So it is so dependent on the person who does it. And not only do you want to do your research, but I think you should take the time to schedule multiple consultations. And when you're trying to decide who to go with, go off vibes. See if like they understand your vision. See if you guys have the same values. Because at least for me, if I were to do it again, I would definitely go for someone who is less aggressive and more conservative and someone who's honest. You know, you want someone to tell you like, hey, you're not a good candidate for these things. And like, hey, you're not going to see 100% improvement. You know, like I want someone to be straight up and tell me certain things, right? You don't want someone who's just going to be like selling you all of these different types of products and services and keeps upselling you. I don't know. For me, I think definitely see multiple opinions and at the very end, go off vibes.
Find the right specialist that really knows what they're doing and take a few moments to look at some before and afters and even reach out and talk to some patients who've had these type of treatments just to get a better idea if really this particular approach is going to meet your expectations. That's the name of the game, no matter what. So let's get into the specific types and the right type of treatments for each. So let's start with the ice pick scar. Most challenging, difficult type of scar to deal with. Things haven't changed a whole lot in terms.
So I don't know why God gave me, again, ice pick scar is a challenging. It's that quote, God gave the hardest battles to the strongest soldiers. What is that quote? Okay.
In terms of innovation in this particular area, probably the most effective way to do this, but also most specialized, which means it's gonna be hard to find somebody who really knows what they're doing in this particular area, because being in the right hands is very important when it comes to this particular treatment I'm about to mention. And that is the TCA cross method. So TCA is, as you heard from some of my chemical peel videos, is an acid. It is a peeling agent. Again, cross, by the way, stands for chemical reconstruction of skin scars. What you do in this particular situation is, unlike a typical medium depth chemical peel where you put the TCA at concentrations around 35%, with the cross TCA method, you're moving it up into the 90s and even 100% in some cases. And what that is doing is it creating a tremendous amount of trauma and impact into the acne pit, the area where the scar is forming, which then will cause that area to heal and then the acne pit to close up. Because what you want to do is de-epithelialize the surface of the skin so that this can heal up, directly. It's not a matter of resurfacing the top layer, getting down to the base, but what you're trying to do is just close this pitted scar. So cross method uses high concentration.
So yes, ice pick, you gotta go deep, right? You can't just do something topical. So that's why if you have deep ice pick scars, for example, chemical exfoliant, just like a superficial chemical peel is not gonna be enough.
TCA. When you're using the cross technique, one thing to keep in mind is oftentimes you're gonna need a series of treatments because each treatment oftentimes will stimulate collagen, de-epithelialize, close, and then start to make the scar more and more shallow. You'll do this until you get to basically even. So oftentimes you're gonna go through 3, 4, 5 treatments and to get to the final result you're looking for. Keep in mind when it comes to acne scarrings, this is a common theme. There's also, if you've got 1 or 2 of them that are...
So the common theme, you got to do 3, 4, 5 treatments. You got to be consistent, right? Again, acne scarring is very hard to treat. I'm going to say it again. It is one of the hardest skin conditions to treat. You have to be consistent, but you also have to let your skin heal and that collagen to regrow. And it's very similar, I always say, to lifting weights, you know, like you got to do it consistently for a while because your muscles have to recover and get stronger. You're not going to see results like for one session at the gym.
Individually placed here or there, you can also use a punch, basically a punch biopsy, to carve that acne scar out and then let the skin heal on itself. Both are doing the same sort of thing. One is using a chemical to get in there, and the other one is physically using a surgical blade, basically with a punch biopsy tool. And if you're...
Do not Google image or look at this happening because it will make your skin crawl. I don't know what it is with needle. It's ironic because I make microneedling devices, but I can't watch the subcision. I cannot see the punch thing. Like it just, I don't know. I just get so squeamish.
And if you're wondering, how will the scar heal in the punch technique? The process of healing is through granulation or secondary healing, which oftentimes will heal very, very well. You will hardly even be able to see the line once it does, because from below you'll start to build a base of tissue and then the skin will epithelialize across it, forming a flat layer. So it's also especially for isolated scars. Now, if you have a confluence of those type of scars, that's not going to really do a good job. You'll end up just creating a tremendous amount of holes in the skin and then having a challenge closing them all. But individually, here are
a bunch of holes in the skin and a challenge of closing them all. I don't know, I'm just imagining like a bunch of open doors in my face and like not being able to close them. Obviously, like your skin is going to heal, but you know, it's going to heal eventually. But yeah, when it's undergoing too much trauma, it's a lot.
They're a very, very good technique. All right, so now let's talk about the other categories, the boxcar and rolling scars. Now you can fundamentally put these into basically the same category. Slight differentiation in terms of the way they actually present, but they're in the same effective category. Now for these, since you're talking about a broad region where the skin is undulated, the idea here is resurfacing. You basically want to stimulate collagen to bring those atrophic, depressed segments of the scar up, while still at the same time, in some cases, bringing the top layer of the skin down a little bit. Now, if you approach it this way, it's much more aggressive. That means a skin resurfacing treatment with like a CO2 or erbium laser, in addition to a fractionated laser like a profractional or halo laser. Now, these still have to be done in series because each treatment is only going to stimulate a certain amount of skin to basically come up. You can only go so deep. You can't decrease the depth of the skin so far that you get to the bottom of an acne scar and then create a whole new scar because of the inability to heal the skin. So,
oh my God, that's so funny because I have scars from trying to treat my scars. So I think that's really important that you do see a specialist and that they do have extensive, experience with different types of acne scars and skin that can scar, because again, my skin is very prone to scarring. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're creating a new scar by trying to heal your scars.
It's a very delicate balance between elevating and reducing. Now, you're going to emphasize, generally speaking, more on the elevation side of it. It's a lot less risky, a lot less downtime, because a fractionated laser does not make you go through a month of recovery that some deep CO2 lasers would, or even a deep erbium laser would. But at the same time, you want to make sure, depending on the situation, that you're open to going both ways, because at the end of the day, this is a long-term play. You're trying to get rid of these acne scars that have been bothering you for a very long time. And I would say simply that this category of treatment, CO2 and erbium, is the gold standard for treating rolling or boxcar scars. Now, there's another category of laser that I'm going to talk about at the very end of this discussion that you could potentially apply to most of these, probably with the exception of ice pick scar, but has found excellent results in the right hands, and something that I would suggest that you definitely take a look at. But let's talk just more broadly here. Okay, next up is microneedling. Now, microneedling is a very common technique that's used for acne scars. Now, I would say if you have mild acne scarring, you have a little bit of textural issues, microneedling can be fantastic. It's generally inexpensive, it's commonly found. really no downside to it. The only issue here is that it is going to take a lot of treatments to get enough stimulation to deal with like even a medium depth type of a acne depressed scar. If it's mild, you're probably gonna get good results with it. If it's on the medium to deep, you're probably not gonna get much with it. You're better off with a laser. But the way it works is the same way these other treatments work. It's all about collagen stimulation. So when you're injuring the surface of the skin responds by building collagen. You're hoping to keep that process going through a series of microneedling treatments, and the acne scar starts to rise, things start to even out, things look more smooth. Now keep in mind, if you have active acne, none of these treatments should be used.
Definitely at-home microneedling, the Banish kit, I say it works well for people with mild to moderate scars. I have personally moderate to severe scarring, so it did help a lot for me, but I still have, acne scars, right? But, if you have mild to moderate scarring, I would say try at-home microneedling. The Banish kit, pretty affordable in comparison to multiple thousands of dollars for all of these treatments. See if it helps, and if it doesn't, you might want to see a specialist, but if it can be solved with something more affordable, try that first. And also, I always say consistency is so important. That's why we have a subscription program. That's why we sell them in packs, because I want you guys to be consistent with your journey, right? You're not gonna, a lot of people, they'll just do it once, they'll see results. Okay, bada bang, bada boom.
Should be used at that time, because they can oftentimes make it worse, especially if you're using microneedling and driving the bacteria even deeper into the skin. So,
oh yeah, this is why also the Banisher 3.0 is a stamping device, not a roller, and the way I designed the head, I designed it with 77 gold-plated needles, so that way you can stamp around if you do have active acne. Because me, I always have active acne. There's some kind of activity happening, right? My acne has more of a social life than I do. Okay, so you just want to stamp around it. Never want to roll over it. And also, if you have active acne, I do not recommend professional microneedling, because when they do professional microneedling, they're using a motorized device, and the esthetician, the provider, doesn't know where your acne is, so you don't want to roll over it and spread it other places.
In the case of active acne scarring, you might want to hold off until things are calmed down. Plus, you don't want to create new acne scars on top of the ones that you're treating and then put yourself in a position where you're just basically...
If you guys haven't seen my comparison of different microneedling devices, I really want you guys to watch it, because I've gotten more scarring from professional microneedling treatments than at home. The professional microneedling treatments, they use the stainless steel, much thicker gauge needle. And if you're like me and you scar towards everything, I have permanent scars here from the technician who went way too hard on my skin.
Pushing and pulling between these different things. So wait till the acne is properly managed and taken care of. The aftermath is the scars, then you go full force and you try to treat them. Now let's not forget about chemical peels. Chemical peels have been used historically as the go-to for acne scarring. Now we're not talking about the superficial ones that you get in a facial, etc. We're talking about medium to high levels of acids, so phenol, TCAs. Now here you're going to really need to be in the hands of an expert. This is probably even more crucial than finding a laser expert, because there's fewer people who have a lot of experience with chemical peels, especially nowadays. But it can be very, very effective. And it's effective in the same way that lasers are effective. You're resurfacing the top texture of the skin, and you're stimulating new collagen formation. So it's this re-elevating the skin and creating an evenness to the surface that you're going after. Deep chemical peels, fantastic treatment, but they come with a long downtime and there's risks associated with it. Knowing how to provide the peel in a safe way is paramount. So definitely don't go just to anyone. Make sure they have a good track record of doing this. But ultimately, it's a very viable and very, very effective treatment. Again, it's been done for a lot longer probably than CO2 lasers have even been in the mix of skin resurfacing. Now, one thing to keep in mind for all of these treatments, especially the lasers and the chemical peels, is if you have darker skin tone, Fitzpatrick 3 and above, for example, you tan easily, a little bit olive tones to your skin, etc., you're gonna wanna pre-treat your skin and make sure that you...
This is really important, because I was advised not to do lasers because I have that Fitzpatrick skin 3. And also, one thing about chemical peels I'm so terrified of is if they leave it on for too long. I don't know, I don't know where you find a specialist for a chemical peel. If you guys know of any, that would be great. I have tried doing chemical peels before and it completely burned off my skin. So because of that, I haven't done it yet. But if you guys know of anyone, maybe I'll try it. Like, I'll never say never, but.
That you don't run the risk of having post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which we talked about earlier, but in this case related to the treatment that you had. So if you're getting a chemical peel or laser, make sure for about 6 weeks to 12 weeks beforehand, you're pre-treating your skin. Pre-treatment could be retinol plus hydroquinone. It could be the trifecta. It could be a number of things that are going to decrease pigmentation afterwards, so you don't get that elevated melanocyte stimulation that causes the pigmentation in the post-inflammatory phase. Let's put things into perspective. There's different types of scars. Each scar has slightly different treatments. So you might combine treatments in some cases. Now, you might combine surgical excision of a deep-pitted ice pick scar. You might use cross in combination with a TCA of lower concentration to help with the rolling scars. You might do a cross technique with a chemical peel in addition to laser resurfacing. You can mix and match these things according to what the conditions are. Now, all of this depends on the experience and the way the person who is treating you sees this. It's important to communicate so you are in the know. Now you have an idea of the different treatment modalities, and you want to make sure that you're getting treated in a way that makes logical sense based on what we talked about here. Before shooting this video, I got on a call with a couple different laser specialists around the country and just said, hey, what's your go-to for acne scars? I was a bit surprised, but I shouldn't have been, that the treatment that came up as one of the best for acne scars is the Halo laser by Cyton. So Halo is a mix between a fractionated erbium YAG, so what we talked about earlier. Fractionated treatments are extremely common and effective, both CO2 and erbium. But in addition, there is a non-ablative component to the Halo. So the way they suggested it, and I think if you're interested in learning more about this, you can check out the Cyton website. But the treatment is you maximize the depth of the Halo and the concentration of it. So you get a really powerful and very focused, and you treat the area in a series. And I was happy to hear that. We, in our practice, have gotten very nice results with ProFractional and even with Halo. I
wonder how much a Halo laser is. So the cost of a laser machine, Halo laser, goes for over $100,000. So the treatment for a single session is about $1,500 to $3,500. Okay, so yeah, face, neck, and chest, $3,100. Face to neck, $2,600. For these medical spa owners, how much did you pay? It is about $200,000 if you want to have one of these lasers, $300,000, and they have these reps that go into these doctors' offices. So they're asking, are they buying it used cash? Yeah. So it's about $300,000. And I don't know if this is why like professional people don't want to talk about at-home microneedling, or like they don't really want to promote it, because sometimes like when you have to, a lot of these offices finance the cost of these lasers, so they have to sell a lot of these packages, right? I'm not saying that it doesn't work or it works better or worse than something you do at home, but there's a whole business with the laser industry that I still want to be alive, you know? So I don't want to say anything about it, but you know, there's a whole business behind it. So we'll just leave it at that. I still want to, you know, I have 2 young kids. Okay. I want to stay around.
I was happy to hear that there is a more aggressive approach with the Halo laser that is very nice results. Now, it's not clear if it's necessarily going to give you improvement with the ice pick type scars, but like I said, those are less common. We already know that there are some good treatments available for that, but for the majority of people who have the rolling textural type, Halo might be a great option. And Halo is something that's relatively common out there, but make sure again that they're practicing it using these settings in this particular configuration for acne scars.
And I would say before getting laser treatment done, again, go see multiple professionals and have a list of questions, you know? And I think the biggest thing is who's doing my treatment, because sometimes it's the doctor who's answering the questions and doing the consultation, but it's somebody else who's actually doing the service. And you know, you want to be talking to the person who's doing the actual service. So you guys know I did my home renovation, all that stuff. And what I've learned from there is a lot of people subcontract, right? The contractor subcontracts. And that's where you get in a lot of issues because the person doing the work just shows up one day and like doesn't know who you are, doesn't know your history, doesn't know what you want. So you always want to talk to the person who is doing the actual treatment, not someone who, you know, is selling you the service or is like the face of the company and, you know, some other random person who maybe was just trained yesterday in the laser or the tool they're using.
So now we talked about all the tools that are available to treat acne scars. But the work doesn't stop there. It's stuff that you do at home that's also going to help prevent acne scars from forming and just keep the skin healthy and moving in the right direction. So let's break this down into some at-home things you can do to improve the results that you get from these treatments and also hopefully to help prevent new acne scars from forming. Now, please keep in mind there's a lot of different reasons why acne forms in the first place, and this is not the scope of the video to talk about all the different things. But one common thing that underlies any type of acne situation is the need to exfoliate the skin and keep the skin clean. Because at the core of all of these conditions is oftentimes bacterial overgrowth and creating the nidus of the acne. So keeping the pores open, keeping the skin exfoliated, and keeping it clean.
So I do want to say that it is so much hormonal. It is so hormonal. Acne, for me, especially the type that leaves with scarring, is all hormonal. And I think a lot of people talk about like the topical, like keeping the skin clean. But I have noticed, for example, I was on birth control like a month ago, and I started developing very bad, painful cystic acne again. And I had not had that for a long time. So I had to stop taking it. And it was the third time, because I am 9 months postpartum, it was the third time of trying to take a hormonal birth control, and I had to stop. Because every time I did it, I started getting really bad cystic acne, and I just thought it was like, oh, random, coincidental. And also a bunch of other side effects like anxiety, just going cuckoo, feeling very bloated. But yeah, I think hormonal, especially for women, can cause really bad cystic acne. And for me, when I did develop all these acne scars, it was right before my period. I would just get huge fluster of acne, and it caused all my cool ice pick scars. Yeah,
it's very, very important. So one really important thing when it comes to cleansing, and this is something that people don't always realize, foaming cleansers can not only dry the skin, but they can create micro tears. So having something that is gentle and non-foaming is a better treatment for your skin from a cleansing point of view than your typical sudsy type of a cleanser. So keep that in mind. Micro tears, abrasive, and dry.
So I'm not exactly sure what he means by micro tears from a foaming cleanser. I don't know if he means like using like apricot shells in the cleanser, because I have not experienced micro tears from any kind of foaming cleanser, but definitely a cleanser that is gentle on the skin. I know a lot of people don't like to use sulfates. It can be drying. The Banish all-clear mint cleanser doesn't have sulfates, and it does foam slightly, but it's not like super foamy. I don't like the cleansers that are super foamy and they make your skin feel super dry, like plasticky after. No.
And drying. That's what happens with foaming cleansers. Rinse, by the way, which is the cleanser that we have as step one in the trifecta, is a perfect cleanser for this type of condition because it's anti-inflammatory because of the aloe and a number of other components, but it's also non-foaming and
the first ingredient in the all-clear mint cleanser is organic aloe vera juice.
Very, very gentle. And you should cleanse twice a day to get overnight oils off your skin a little bit, balance the skin, and then in the evenings, same thing, wash.
Don't you remember there was a trend about cleansing your skin once a day? Or there was a trend about using yellow dial soap to get rid of acne? I don't know, there's all of these like new things that people are doing to help their skin, or like new cleansing techniques. But I do remember a trend was not washing your face in the morning. And then another trend was using dial soap. For me, I have to wash my face twice a day. Just in the morning, it helps me wake up, and I just feel like my skin gets super oily and like congested. So I always wash my face in the morning. And I love using the all-clear mint cleanser because it's super refreshing, because I need something to wake me up.
Wash it, get all the dirt and debris and everything else that accumulates, so you go to bed with a nice clean palate. Cleansing twice a day is an important hygienic strategy for acne. Depending on the type of acne, retinols and that category can be really, really helpful in terms of keeping acne at bay. In fact, Retin-A originally was designed for a acne treatment and then realized to be an anti-aging treatment as well. So you kill two birds with one stone. Next is exfoliating. We did an entire video on this, by the way.
So retinols do not work for me. I have a very dry, I have a very faulty, weak skin barrier. I have eczema, but the retinol serum from Banish has a ceramide called glycosphingolipids, which has an oil head base and a sugar tail. And that certain ceramide, glycosphingolipid, because it has a sugar tail, it attracts hydration and water because water melts sugar, if you want to think of it. But it also has an oil, it's an oil head. I think it's an oil head, and it actually keeps the moisture into the skin, which I think is pretty cool. So that's the unique part of the retinol and ceramide serum from Banish. That is the only retinol I can use. I can't use any other forms of retinol. It's way too drying, way too harsh on my skin. So if you do use retinols, make sure you can tolerate it, and if you can't, try finding one with ceramides, or you can try sandwiching. There's different methods you can use to tolerate the retinol.
Make sure you take a look at it. Now, there's a number of different types of exfoliators. Physical exfoliators, which can be abrasive and actually, lead to more acne scarring. Chemicals can be sometimes.
By the love of God, do not use a physical exfoliant. Okay, it's going to create more scarring. Remember the St. Ives apricot scrub? That stuff created more scarring. I used a face wash the other day. It was like a men's face wash, and it was so abrasive. It got in my eyes, and I felt like it created like there's sand in my eyes all day. So yeah, definitely not physical, but you can use chemical exfoliants.
Sometimes the same thing that can also be a little bit harsh. The category that I think is probably the safest to do for all skin types is an enzymatic exfoliator. Enzymatic means that it's enzymes that is basically chewing up and digesting the surface dead debris and causing that to become clean and removed. And by doing it, it's much more gentle. It's less likely to create any of these other issues with dryness and abrasiveness, and even exacerbate some acne conditions. And this was the fundamental reason why I chose to develop Polish, which is an enzymatic exfoliator as opposed to using different types of acids like.
So the pumpkin enzyme mask too, it has glycolic alpha hydroxy acids that can go into the pores and kind of clean it out. But definitely use alpha hydroxy acids. That actually works really, really well for people with acne scars and acne prone skin. I also like mandelic acid, which smells like almonds. Any kind of alpha hydroxy acids work really well for me.
Acids like alpha hydroxy acids or beta hydroxy acids, or using bamboo beads, etc. Because I wanted something that was just mindless and everyone can use and get benefit. And you can't overdo it. 2-3 times a week is how we generally use it, but that's a great way of just exfoliating the surface of the skin in addition to cleansing. And when you exfoliate, your pores are less likely to get clogged, and as a result, less likely to get infected, because that's oftentimes the pathophysiology of an acne scar, is that a pore gets clogged, bacteria gets trapped in there, and then it leads to a acne event. Acne scar is just one part of it. There's another part that I want to really get into, and that is the emotional side of this journey, as well as the expectations that you should have. This is equally important as everything else I just shared with you. Like everything else that we talk about on this channel, all of this comes down to making us feel better, right? Whether we're getting our face lifted or skin improved, all this is about making us feel our best. My experience in helping patients along the way is acne scarring is something that people are very self-conscious about and very bothered by. And it emotionally drains them, which is unfortunate, but it is the reality. Let's talk about expectations.
So this is why Banish has always been about being, so I should have just worn the shirt while filming the video. Confident in my skin, okay? Because it is very, very draining. It is mentally exhausting. It is really hard. I know what it feels like when you have acne scars, and this is why I created the chant, the Banish chant. I can, I will, I got this, I can do this, I'm brave, I'm a warrior, I'm confident in my skin, okay? See? So I'm really glad Dr. Amir talked about this, because it's not just treating the topical part of the skin, right? or treating the texture. It is about making people feel their best, making them feel confident. And I know what you feel like when you have acne scars. Like, I know what it feels like, right? And the word I would describe what it feels like with acne scars is hide. That is what it feels like.
Number one is if you are dealing with acne prone skin and have acne scars, it is unlikely that you'll have that glass skin that you see on Instagram and different places like that, right? Because at the end of the day, there's trauma that has happened to the skin and things can only be improved so much. The expectation should be significant improvement.
I love that. Oh my God, thank you so much how Dr. Amir said, you're not gonna get glass skin, because everybody thinks that because I'm Asian, I have good skin, which I don't know if that's racist or not. I don't know, because I do not have good skin. I have the worst skin ever. And so I almost felt I was almost being a bad Asian, or I didn't fit in with Asians because I had such bad skin. I don't know, it's kind of like, let's say like you're black, right? And you are not athletic, right? And everyone thinks like, oh, black people are like really athletic and all that stuff. And you feel like, you know, you just feel very outcasted in your group or in, you know, your race or ethnicity because you don't fit in that sense. So I have never had like good skin. I've had a lot of acne scars, whatever, but I'm never going to get glass skin, you know. And even me, I'm wearing makeup right now and I have, you know, a light over. I'm not having any filters or anything, but this is as glassy as it's going to get, but I'm never going to have that glassy skin. And I think so much of it is genetic. It's not because they're putting snail serum or salmon sperm or whatever on their face. It just is what it is. So I really want to acknowledge him for saying that, and also to being realistic, right? You know, these acne scar treatments, you just saw $3,000 a session for a laser. You need 6 of these sessions, right? $18,000. Like, how much of an improvement are you gonna see, right, for that amount of money? I just want everyone to know that sometimes the scars will still be there, right? And you have to be okay with that. And that's just why I always preach being confident in your skin, regardless of the skin texture, regardless of how you look, because even with all of the money in the world, your acne scars still might be there.
Using the right techniques. But if you want to not feel let down, don't expect perfection. I have not seen it personally. I've seen a big time improvement, almost to the level that anyone should feel very comfortable with. But perfection is not real, okay? That's important, because otherwise your journey is going to lead you down just an endless road of...
And I love that. Perfection is not real. You know, as somebody who, this is my job, my livelihood, I have a multi-million-dollar business. I employ, you know, a handful of people creating these products. I don't have perfect skin. And I think it's important to say that this is the best it will be. And I've had to accept that there still is texture, you know, and that's okay. And I'm never going to have perfect, poreless, flawless, whateverless skin. And as I'm approaching 40, it's just going to be me having to learn how to love myself over and over and over and over again for the way it looks, right? So I just love how he said that, because I think, I don't know, I feel like society, and especially in this industry, people are always trying to sell you images of perfection when it's just not going to exist.
Of treatments and things like that that may not pan out for you. The second thing is recognizing that the way you perceive your skin in these cases may not necessarily be the way others perceive your skin. People don't have perfect skin. And we're used to seeing certain level of irregularities and acne scarring and things like that. It's rare that I see perfect skin in people. But bottom line is, when it's happening to you, you may feel it's even more noticeable and bothersome. And that's something that you need to change about your perception of it, that people aren't necessarily...
Okay, I'm gonna be completely real with you guys. I feel like social media filters has completely changed how people view everything. And there's some people on TikTok that I follow, and then I watch them on a podcast where, you know, the podcast, like, there's no filters or lighting or whatever. And they look so different, from the point where I couldn't even recognize who was in the podcast until they started talking and sharing their story. And that's when I was like, oh, it's that person I follow on TikTok. But they don't even look like what they look like on TikTok or on social media, because there's so much editing and filters and all of that. So I just want to tell you guys that, like, we're so hard on ourselves because we are looking at ourselves without all the editing, without all the filters, without you know, the right angles, and we're comparing ourselves to everyone's perfect view, right? And I think that has messed up a lot of people. And then that's also why people think they need all these skin treatments, or they need all these skin products, or all these beauty products, or whatever, to achieve that look that these people don't even have. Like, I'm telling you, I was at a conference, like a seminar, and the speaker there, I followed her religiously on TikTok. At first, I didn't even know it was her, because she looked very different. But secondly, she looked significantly older than what she does on TikTok. And I'm not saying this to put shame on her or any of that. I'm just saying that, you know, in her social media, you never see like wrinkles around her eyes or crow's feet. But in real life, she had a lot of them, which is totally fine. But, you know, it's not realistic. So a lot of people are comparing themselves to people who don't even look like themselves. And now with AI, it's going to be a cluster.
People aren't necessarily seeing what you see to the degree that you see it. And between that and improving your skin to a certain level and being less hard on yourself, that combination is probably where the happy medium exists, and probably where a place where you'll be ultimately very happy with the treatments that you get done and being able to feel comfortable and confident and move forward. All right, so let's bring it all together. First, we learned that not all acne scars are the same, and understanding the differences.
So thank you so much, Dr. Amir Karam. This was an incredible video. You guys should all watch it. And I hope this helped. And it is, what time is it now? You guys, it is 10:41 at night. So this is the only time I can film YouTube videos without I have two young girls like screaming at me. But I am so exhausted because I've been standing for like 50 minutes. So I'm gonna go to bed. So thank you guys so much. And remember to love yourself for who you are. Like, skin texture, skin irregularities, whatever is completely normal. You are amazing. You're confident in your skin. Bye.